Hello everyone, welcome to my channel Nikitinaknits. My name is Evgeniya and in this video I want to share some new knitting patterns from February that I personally really liked. Every month there's so many new knitting patterns are coming out, and in these type of videos that I release every single month I share some of my favorites. So I share the knitting pattern, the recommended yarn, the construction, my personal choice on yarn, would I go with the recommended yarn or with something else, and overall my excitement about those beautiful knitting patterns. So grab your knitting, grab your favorite drink, in my case is some wonderful mint tea today, and let's enjoy some of the gorgeous knitting patterns from February of 2026. And the first one that comes to my mind immediately is Jenny Blouse by PetiteKnit. So Jenny Blouse is a sweater, I would say. I wouldn't call it a blouse because it does look like a textured sweater, but is the continuation of her previous Jenny versions. She has a sweater and two cardigans as well, and those projects have bigger gauge. So she created something way lighter, way thinner, more lightweight and more wearable because this texture is still quite heavy. She created this probably because people loved it so much, and I did love Jenny versions as well a lot, but something that was stopping me from knitting those projects is this heaviness of the smock pattern, stitch pattern. And when she started to create the very light version on 3mm needles with the smock pattern, I knew I'm going to be knitting this for sure, and I already have some yarn ideas and I just need to finish my knits before I can cast it on, but I really want to knit this. Something that really attracts me is when designers are creating texture and cables on very thin needles, and that's not often the case because not many knitters are going to be casting on a textured or cabled knit on 3 or 2.5mm needles, let's be honest. And even this project, Jenny Blouse, is going to take a lot of time. I personally look forward to knitting this because I don't care how much time it takes, I just want a beautiful end result, but I know that that's a stopper for a lot of knitters, and that's why it's not a usual case. So I was extremely happy to see that PetiteKnit is developing this pattern, and I'm sure a lot of people are going to enjoy it. The recommended yarn is Sunday by Sadness, which is a fingering weight. It has 235 meters per 50 grams and it's 100% merino wool. So I personally wouldn't go with Sunday because of a few reasons. The texture of the yarn, actually right now I'm wearing a sweater knitted in this yarn, is very drapey, and while it looks beautiful, I saw the ready objects of testers and the PetiteKnit's version is beautiful, but I'm afraid it's going to grow with time a bit too much. I would like a bit more texture to the merino that I'm going to choose. So I was thinking the perfect option could be Lamana Como Cashmere, which is a sport weight yarn, or heavy fingering, you could say, held together with Lamana Premia. This yarn combination is quite pricey, but honestly I would just dream to knit this project in this yarn combination. If not, I think Sunday is really a good option, and I'm sure that a lot of you do prefer a lot of drape and they don't mind the texture of Sunday, and I think it's a perfect option as well for this project. So the construction is a top-down construction with a drop shoulder, where you first form the back panel with increases along the shoulder slope that is placed right behind your shoulder in a way, not on top. After that, when you're done with the back panel, you're picking up stitches for two fronts, one by one, knitting them separately, connecting at the neck and knitting the body to the underarms, then connecting two panels together, knitting the body down to desired length, and casting on, picking up stitches for the sleeves and knitting them in the round. This sweater looks gorgeous, and I'm really dreaming to knit this in the very light beige or light cream color, like in a very basic color, and to just wear it for years because that is going to take a lot of time. The next pattern is Book Club Raglan Pullover by Sari Nordlund. So this is the continuation also of her Book Club series. She has a cardigan that became extremely successful, which makes a lot of sense because it's a really beautiful cardigan and I still want to knit it. Then she created a Book Club sweater with a drop shoulder construction, and that was also quite successful. And so right now she created the Raglan version of the same stitch pattern, which is amazing because different people prefer different constructions, and sometimes I'm a bit sad when I see the project that I like, but I don't really like to wear that construction. So it's amazing when designers do that, and I'm so in love with this Raglan sweater. The only thing, I would knit this sweater with a bit more of the positive ease and not too close to the body, but that's already your own preference as well. So what we have here is the textured, beautiful cabled knit, also on 3.5mm needles. a bit thicker than Jenny blouse, but still on the thin side, which is also my favorite thing. You get the warmth, squishiness and bounciness of the sweater. You feel cozy and it looks interesting and beautiful, but at the same time it's not bulky and you're not going to sweat in it when you, let's say, work in the office or wear it under your jacket or have a walk in the winter time. So something so perfect, so wearable, but does take a lot of time to knit. But I think it's completely worth it, especially if you pick the yarn that you're enjoying to work with and you more or less know that it's going to work well for this type of project. So the construction is chomp down construction, Raglan. You just start at the top, you do some short rows to raise the back. You just keep knitting then in the round, increasing for the Raglan lines, splitting for sleeves, knitting the body down, and then picking up stitches that were on hold and knitting the sleeves down. Quite simple construction, but not so simple stitch pattern, but looks absolutely beautiful. You get the seed stitch inside these diamond rhombs, you get the braids and cables, you get some pearl panels, and overall it looks very well combined and harmonious all together. And I just can already see it in so many beautiful colors. I do like the version of Sari Nordlund, this very lavender blue color. And the recommended yarn is alpaca silk by Sadness Yarn, which is a fingering weight, 70% alpaca, 30% silk, held together with mohair. But I don't know if I would go with this combination because alpaca silk is extremely drapey and it does spill quite a lot. It depends on the color, because I did see it in the yarn shop and some of the balls were already peeling off, the balls of such tiny, very thin hairs of alpaca, and I think this yarn is not so suitable for this type of knits, for the cables and for the sweaters that are meant to be worn a long time. So I'm just afraid that I'm going to knit the whole sweater in this type of yarn, and in just 2 years of regular wear is going to look not the best, let's say. It's going to stretch out, it's going to peel, and I'm just not sure what is going to be the end result. I don't really like this yarn combination, if I'm honest. So I would pick any fingering that you want with mohair. So knitting for olive merino if you wish. I would like to try Pasquale's merino. They have a very interesting base that is the traditional fingering merino yarn. It is called baby merino. It has 220 meters per 50 grams. And the interesting fact about it is that this merino is treated with a special enzyme that is present in nature, that is completely free from chemicals. But that enzyme is treating the yarn in the way that then you can wash it in the machine. But I do want to try this type of merino. I've never tried it and it looks gorgeous. And there are not so many colors in the palette, but every color looks so amazing, and some of them just drive me crazy, I promise you. So I would just take this merino and either Pasquale mohair, which is actually what I'm wearing now as well. This is knitted with 2 strands. So soft, so luxurious, doesn't shed, unbelievable. I cannot recommend this enough. Or Pasquale Manada, which is a blend of mohair, wool and yak wool and silk, which is a bit more textured, a bit more matte, has very interesting feel to this. I do have a little sample book and I did have a chance to feel it a little bit, so I'm really looking forward to try that combination. And if you want to go for such combination, you have 10% discount from me because I'm partnering with Pasquale. I'm so glad to be their affiliate partner. The link is placed right under the video in the description box. So what else can I say? I'm sure a lot of people are going to enjoy book club Raglan, and I'm sure we're going to see many beautiful versions, and I'm myself really looking forward to knitting this one day. Don't know, probably in that beautiful lavender bluish color from Sari Nordlund, or maybe just classic cream or beige color as well. Would be so beautiful. My list today is so full of thin knits that require a lot of time, but they're so beautiful. So what about some classic braids from Ukrainian designer? So the pullover is called It Braids pullover by Natalie Pelykh. And Natalie Pelykh is one of my favorite Ukrainian designers, and I spoke about her in my recent video that got actually quite a lot of attention, and I'm so glad for it. That is called 10 Ukrainian knitting designers to knit from. So if you haven't seen that video, the link is going to be also down below. It's a very interesting video where you can discover so many new patterns and designers. So I mentioned her there, and she was in the process of creating this beautiful beautiful sweater. And as usually, what grabbed my attention is the simplicity, but some details to this, wearability of the project when you can wear it so many times and so many different occasions. And it's all knitted on 3.25mm needles with a DK weight yarn. And the shape of the sweater is absolutely perfect. Drop shoulder, perfectly shaped V-neck with a beautiful band detail right after the ribbing on the V-neck. Very beautiful detail of the cables and the stockinette panels. Very tiny ribbing here at the sleeves. Overall, oversized, a little bit baggy fit, but you can of course regulate the amount of ease that you want. And as usually about Natalie Pelykh, there's going to be a perfect shaping. There's going to be short rows in places where they have to be. Everything is going to sit well. You're going to feel comfortable in the sweater, and most body shapes are going to be fitted quite well. So this pattern is actually presented in 4 languages, which is English, Ukrainian, Russian, and German. I don't know if all of her patterns are released in German as well, but that's amazing. So the sizing is also from kids to men's sizing. You can knit for the entire family by buying only one pattern, which is just insane. And the recommended yarn is Woolly Wine Merino 150. So I don't really know this yarn. I never worked with. I guess it's the German brand, but let me know if you did have experience with this yarn. It's 100% merino, but it does look like more like a sport weight. It doesn't look like a DK weight yarn. And also the gauge looks more like a sport weight 32 stitch per 10 centimeters on 3.5mm. So I don't know if it's a DK weight project. I wouldn't be taking a DK weight yarn for this project. Maybe very light DK, but mostly sport I would do. And I wouldn't go with this yarn because, as I can see from these pictures, is like this very smooth merino wool that I'm not a fan of. I'm way more in love with texture, so I wouldn't go with this yarn. But again, if you like this type of texture, you can go. At this point, I only have the option of Lamane Como in my head because lately I'm quite a fan of Lamane yarns. I have the box of their yarns to try, each ball of each quality, and I'm just absolutely shocked. So don't be surprised if I recommend their yarns in my each video, but that's just honest impression. I really like their yarns. So I think Lamane Como held single for this project would be just absolutely perfect. And the construction is a traditional top-down drop shoulder construction where you form the back panel first, then 2 fronts separately, connect here at the neck, knit the body and knit the sleeves with the short rows here at the cap. And that is going to sit just wonderful. I'm really looking forward to knitting this. The next pattern is Note Sweater by BlueSquirrel Yoom. BlueSquirrel Yoom is the Korean designer, and I'm quite a fan of Korean and Japanese designers as well. I do have a separate playlist on my channel with a lot of pattern inspiration. All of them are available in English, so if you haven't seen those videos, they're quite for a long time in my channel, and you want to see them, you can find the link down below and enjoy as well. So she released this new sweater, which is a saddle shoulder DK weight sweater, and it's absolutely beautiful. First of all, because of a perfect shaping. I do like saddle shoulder constructions, but I'll be honest, it's really hard for me to find the one that is going to satisfy my needs completely in terms of shaping, because this is something I really pay attention to. Saddle shoulder requires a lot of short rows at the back of the panel, at the front, at the sleeve, when you continue knitting the sleeve after you finish the whole front and back panel. And a lot of saddle shoulders don't have it because it's quite a baggy construction, quite oversized, so we can't really find many short rows usually in these constructions. And as I can see in this sweater, everything just looks perfect. We have a very smooth transition from the neck all the way down to the end of the sleeves. It looks very firm and very complete, without any bulkiness, without collection fabric under the underarm, without pulling the neckline because there's not enough short rows to compensate for the raise of it. So I'm really happy with the way she's constructing her items. Everything is just looking top-notch. And we can see that there are 2 versions, actually just bigger and smaller size, which could be worn by men and by women. So she's wearing smaller size, and the man on the pictures is wearing a big size, and that looks absolutely beautiful. So this one is completely unisex pattern. You can knit one for yourself and one for your loved one if you wish. And so the main detail that also grabs the attention is this gorgeous stitch pattern that goes along the arms. One line goes in the front of the sleeve and the second line goes right in the back of the sleeve. It looks so beautiful, and honestly I'm really looking forward to knitting this because it's so simple, but it is so elegant, wearable and minimalistic at the same time. So the yarn weight says DK weight yarn, but the stitch gauge is 18 stitches per 10 centimeters and is knitted on 5mm needles. So I don't really know if it's a DK weight yarn. Maybe DK plus mohair could work, or worsted or Aran. It really depends on which yarn you're picking and which gauge you're looking for. Some people like a bit more air and breathability through the fabric. I, for example, like a bit more tight fabric with less drapiness and less air through the fabric. So it really depends. You need to experiment and find your perfect yarn and your perfect stitch definition for this project. I think this sweater could be knitted in few different versions, like for winter, really warm and hot yarn, and for spring or transition period when it's not so hot yet but not so cold already, and you can use some blends of yarns together. So a lot of different versions could be knitted with this sweater. Also some speckled yarn and variegated yarn if that is something you like. My fantasy is already going crazy, but the yarn itself by design is not specified, which is often the case, probably because this is a Korean designer. She was using some Korean yarn that is not available or accessible in Europe and the rest of the world, or it's hard to get. So if I were to knit this, my first idea would be to go with 2 strands of knitting for olive. This is the yarn that I trust and the yarn that I like as well, and that should work quite nice. If it's not enough, 2 strands of knitting for olive, I would just add some mohair or some of the lace weight. If you want some ideas what to add to your knits, fluffy, not fluffy, different textures, you can take a look at my mohair substitutes video. There's a lot of interesting ideas for you to use, so you can also experiment with your knits. The link is going to be down below. So the construction, as probably I mentioned already, is knitted top down. You first knit the saddles separately, and then you knit the back panel with Yoom and short row shaping. After that you leave stitches on hold, do the same for the front panel. Connect 2 panels together, knit the body down, and then pick up stitches here on the saddle shoulder and knit it down. So when you pick up stitches, I'm sure that there's going to be short rows here as well, because the transition of the fabric looks just gorgeous. I really like it, which is not, as I already said, the case in most of the saddle shoulder constructions. The next pattern is Cozybiella Slipover by Ateliervh. The name is Ines von Homeyer. Hard to pronounce. So this is a very classic slipover that is quite oversized, that has a lot of drape to it, has beautiful openings and the hem, and this slipover could perfectly fit different types of outfits. I like the idea of wearing something tight next to your skin and then the oversized slipover, and then you can wear the classic cotton crisp t-shirt and this slipover on top, and then when the hot weather comes you can just wear it next to skin and it's still going to look really beautiful. I don't really know how deep exactly is the armhole. Well, actually it does look quite deep, so I'm not sure if you can really wear it next to skin, but maybe if you can wear some top right under to compensate that really low armhole, that could look really beautiful as well. So really versatile slipover, and I noticed that this roundup is really heavy on classic patterns. This is what February got me. I love it. We always need this type of designs in our wardrobe, because no matter how beautiful cabled and textured knits are, the eye, especially my eye and my brain, can get tired of them, and such minimalistic things with very little details are never boring and never overstimulating to the brain. So this slipover actually could be worn openly with split hem, just like as designed, with oversized look, or maybe you can tuck it into your high-waisted skirt or high-waisted jeans if you prefer those outfits, because it's still quite thin. It is knitted on 4mm needles, but with a sport weight yarn, and so the recommended yarn is Pasquale Cashmere 628, which is a sport weight 100% cashmere, or Cardiff Cashmere Classic, which is also a sport weight cashmere as well. So the reason it's knitted on 4mm needles is that it blooms quite a lot after blocking. I would just go for the recommended yarns, and as I previously mentioned, if you want to go for Pasquale, you have 10% discount if you shop through my link, so that's a generous discount to enjoy the cashmere. And Cardiff as well, I knitted with this, I will be knitting with this soon, and it's a gorgeous yarns. I can't tell which one is better. They're a bit different. I will reveal on differences in my next videos as I'm knitting with them, but I can say that both of them are exceptionally amazing. So the construction is knitted top down. It's a drop shoulder construction where you have the back panel formed, then 2 front panels formed, connected here at the neck, knitted to the underarms. 2 panels are then connected together, knitted down, and then you knit the armhole ribbing and the neckline. So actually here, if you do prefer folded over necklines, you can also do that, or even maybe folded over underarms, like for example in Bruno Slipover by PetiteKnit. You can do that if you prefer that look. I think it could still look beautiful with this design, but it would look way more bulky and way more maybe stylish if you prefer that look. I don't know what I would do. I like both versions, but I think I would still go with this original formation of the ribbing. And the last pattern for today is Valin Scarf by Irene. The format of such scarf became quite popular recently, and I really love the way it looks. It looks still cozy, still warming, but it doesn't hang around your body, it doesn't fall behind your coat if you're in a rush, and especially if you have also the bag that is going on the side of your body or goes through your body. So it looks very neat, organized on your body, and still warms you up. And I'm really looking forward to try wearing these type of scarves. The only thing I would say is really important, the yarn choice for this project, because if the yarn is too slippery, it's going to obviously pull itself apart and undo itself. So it's very important that the yarn sticks to each other as you're pulling through the whole of the scarf every time. And it's also important that it doesn't felt or lose the quality with time. So it is quite tricky to find the perfect yarn for this, and I'm not sure. I would like to test the recommended yarn and see how it works out with time, if it's going to perform all of these qualities well. So another wonderful thing about this scarf is that it's knitted in double knit stitch. I'm a huge fan of double knit, first of all, because it doesn't roll inwards or outwards. I really don't like when the scarf is doing that. It's just destroying the entire look when the scarf is constantly losing the shape and the ends or the sides are rolling inwards or outwards. And I was looking for the scarf in double knitting that I would like to knit. And when I saw this scarf, I was absolutely in love. You knit it from tip to tip, so you start at one tip and then knit all the way around and finish with the other one, and it's knitted entirely on 4.5mm needles with a worsted weight yarn. The yarn recommended is Maho Garn Puno Fine, which is a blend of cotton and alpaca, so it's 54% cotton, 39% alpaca and 7% wool, and the structure of the yarn is this blown yarn through the cotton thread. We have a lot of blown yarns like that on the market, so it's not going to be a problem to find substitutes if you don't have the access to this or you don't want to buy new yarn and you have it in stash. The only thing is that it says worsted weight for this project, and I would be careful picking another thick, really thick worsted weight yarn, because I think it's worsted because of this fluff around the cotton thread, but the thickness itself is way lighter. It's not really worsted. So I would really experiment with the gauge before I actually buy the whole quantity of yarn for this project, because it could be tricky, because this is a fluffy yarn and it says worsted. Anyways, it's a beautiful yarn. I would like to try it, and the color palette is also unbelievably beautiful. And I did hear good reviews from people who knitted with this brand, with their merino, with their mohair, and this one is very interesting. And I'm really looking forward to this very fluffy, bouncy, squishy scarf, and it just looks amazing. Also, it comes in 3 sizes actually, which is gorgeous, because for example, I really like a lot of scarves from Sari Nordlund, but she doesn't release many sizes. She usually releases in one size the scarf, and it's too small for me. I do like bigger scarves. And it's quite sad because I want to knit scarves from her and I can't because of sizing. And here we do have 3 sizes with different lengths, a different thickness, and the presented pictures demonstrate a second size, which is amazing that is actually mentioned. And I'm really looking forward to knitting this one day. It's going to be so beautiful, so lightweight, so warm, because it's double knitting. You have the same stockinette from each side. So wonderful project. I'm only looking forward to knitting this, and I'm sure you guys are going to enjoy it as well. So thank you very much for joining me and enjoying these gorgeous patterns from February. I really enjoy chatting through these patterns. If you like what you saw right now, you can subscribe to my channel and press the notification bell button, so whenever the new video is out, you can watch and enjoy. I know that a lot of people do watch without the subscription. I'm also this type of viewer who can watch some creators for years and then I realize I'm not subscribed. So if you're not subscribed yet, you can do it right now. Otherwise, all I want to say is thank you again very much for watching and being here with me, for your beautiful comments as well. And I'm hoping to see you soon in my next video.